Okay. Well, yes, sir.
First fight on the main card, we have Jim A10. I don't know why I want to call him Jim Mayhem Miller, different guy, but Jim A10 Miller taking on Alex Hernandez, the Great Ape. What are you thinking, Keith?
Well, it's interesting you said Mayhem Miller, considering I just brought up Bully Beatdown, and he was the host of Bully Beatdown. What a sad path Mayhem Miller went down. But I'm rolling with Jim Miller here, despite him being the older man, right?
Mm-hmm.
39 as opposed to 30. He's just about 40 now at this point. But he's on a 3-fight win streak, 3-2 over his last 5. Yeah, sure, the last one came to Cowboy, but I think it's more impressive, like in Cowboy's last couple of fights, to submit Cowboy rather than knock him
Mm-hmm.
out. Really good submission in I believe it was the second round against Cowboy. Cowboy's jiu-jitsu did still hold up on his feet, not so much, but his jiu-jitsu did still hold up in the last couple of fights. And not really fighting slouches, right? Like Nicolas Mata, not so bad. Eric Gonzalez, another good guy. Like those guys have winning records. They were, good competition. And Jim Miller did show against Eric Gonzalez that he can still work on his feet. He knocked Eric Gonzalez out with an overhand.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you have Alexander Hernandez, who, remember when he was like this young, cocky kid? Like he fought Cowboy too. And he was talking a lot of shit. And this is old Cowboy, well, young Cowboy. Cowboy gave him the business, and I'm pretty sure he knocked him the fuck out. But
Mm-hmm.
Alex Hernandez at this point, he's not, that young kid anymore. Like he has kind of fallen off. He got knocked out the last time around against Billy Q. And Billy Q is not known to knock guys out. And then, Hanato Moicano, a great jiu-jitsu practitioner who, I think Jim Miller is comparable to, then choked out Alex Hernandez. I just see more paths to victory here for Jim Miller. I see him working on his feet, landing a couple of good shots, going in for, like maybe an overhand or two,
Mm-hmm.
and then faking an overhand, dropping down for a takedown, and, taking the back of Alex Hernandez, because Alex Hernandez does like to give up his back when he's on the ground quite a bit. These guys are very similar in size. 1-inch height difference, 1-inch reach advantage for Alex Hernandez. And despite Jim Miller being almost 40 years old, like he's another one of these guys in his 40s that he's going out there and he's doing it. And, this kind of speaks to jiu-jitsu, because Jim Miller is a great jiu-jitsu practitioner, or jiu-jitsu player, whatever you want to call him. But when you're old, like when you're in your 40s, if you have great jiu-jitsu, you can still go out there and win fights. And I think that that's the path to victory for Jim Miller this week, is to use that jiu-jitsu. People at Tapology believe so as well. And I'm rolling with Jim Miller. I'd like him to get it done by submission. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to find. I'm on Best Fight Odds right now. I'm trying to find what the odds are for this. Obviously, when you type in UFC Fight Night, that is not quite good enough to pull it up. Let's try Erin Blanchfield and see if we can get her. All right, so here we are. Erin Blanchfield, UFC Fight Night 219 is what we're calling it. It's annoying that I have to do extenuous research to find that. Thank you, UFC. Jim Miller
easy.
plus. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it should be easy. Like just name it something and keep calling it the same thing.
Why do we have to have UFC Vegas this Fight Night 216? Those mean the same things, but it's always also referred to as just the name of the main event. Like we have 3 different nomenclatures for naming these non-numbered cards. Can we figure something out, please? That's my one ask. That being said, looking here at Jim Miller. We got it on the screen. Plus 165, started plus 160, went up to plus 170, and now hanging out at plus 165. Alex Hernandez minus 195, hovering right around there, seeing the line movement there. Listen, I think I'm gonna have to side with you too, and the reason is I think if Alexander Hernandez took a little bit of more time off, I would have been picking him. But the reality of the situation is Hernandez is coming up from 145 in that fight against Billy Quarantillo. Hernandez is a guy who's went back and forth between 45 and 55, just like Jim Miller's went back and forth between 70 and 55 at this latter stage of his career. And I think cutting down to 55 isn't necessarily the easiest thing for Jim Miller to do at this point in his career. I think he maybe would prefer 170, but those traditional 170 guys end up being a little bit too big. So as a lot of these older 155ers find themselves, like, where do I go? Like, kind of like an RDA of like, where exactly do I fit into this at this stage of my career? Jim Miller obviously is going to have the fight IQ. He's intelligent, and his brain and his facilities are all still there. I think he was on Rogan not too long ago, and he speaks fine. There is not a punch drunkenness to Jim Miller. So I think him coming in, definitely off of that win, Cerrone feels pretty confident in himself, but he's not going to feel overconfident. I'm a little bit concerned, like I said, about being 39, going from 70 now back down to 50, and how that cut's going to affect him. Every fight now is going to have more and more question marks as he continues to age. But up until this point, he's on a 3-fight win streak, so he's been looking pretty good. He's out of New Jersey, so I want to, kind of lean that way too. The thing that's going to be the deciding factor for me is that the fact that Alexander Hernandez can find himself in bad positions sometimes, and now that he's moving up to 155, he has fought better competition at 55 than he has at 45. I think 45 drained him a little bit, and that's why he was able to get knocked out by Billy Quarantillo after a pretty back and forth fight, if I remember that. But Billy Quarantillo ended up looking pretty good. But Hernandez got his good shots in, and if he can get some of those good shots in that he got on Billy Quarantillo, I think we're going to have a really fun fight here at 155 pounds. But being knocked out and getting finished the way he did against Billy Q, with basically being out on his feet and then having to be called off, just around 2 months ago, only giving yourself eight weeks to recover, and 4 or 6 of those have been in a training camp getting knocked around. Like, I'm just a little bit concerned now for Alexander Hernandez. And when you have a guy who is as sharp and intelligent as Jim Miller, I'm going to have to side with you, as are the people on Tapology. 66% of the votes coming in on Miller. I don't know if necessarily we're going to see Alexander Hernandez get knocked out. Jim Miller, he knocked out Nick Mata. So Eric Gonzalez, and they say power is the last thing to go, especially when, you're throwing some precise strikes, and you're going to be intelligent, and it's, knowing when to throw them and not overextenuating yourself. I'm going to go with Jim Miller here. I think he could probably get the finish too. And we've seen Alexander Hernandez make some bad decisions when he's hurt in a fight and end up getting submitted. I don't think it's a bad pick to take Alexander Hernandez to lose by finish. But then again, he is the younger guy. He's at 155 pounds. He's shown a little bit better there. I would kind of go maybe Jim Miller by finish, Hernandez by decision. And that's maybe where I would fall on it. But the more I talk about it, the more I'm starting to lean Jim A10 Miller.
Yeah, no, I think it's, especially at plus 165, the money is there. I think it's a high value bet. I don't know what Vegas is looking at. Maybe they're just considering that Alex Hernandez is the younger guy, but I think Jim Miller is a high value bet on this card, and he's probably my favorite underdog. So I'm definitely rolling with Jim Miller. Next, oh, you got something for us?
No, I was